to Today in the
We
Kingdom.
now about today in the kingdom. So and then so yeah, Baba discuss another episode. I think that this will be our fourth episode that yeah, bed drop in a few days to come. And that topic, we're talking about what are the ways the Church of Christ can retain members of the church and energize the youth and members to do more. Ɛkwan bɛyɛ so na ɛyɛ Kristo asɔre no yɛbɛfa so aboa ama youth no aka asɔre no mu na yɛasan energize wɔn na wɔatumi ade wɔn ho ahyɛ asɔre dwumadie mu ama biribiara yɛ kama. Na ɛnɛ nso yɛ panelist wɔ ha a mɛ introduce wɔn. Mɛba. Okay. Yɛwɔ yɛn nua Frederick wɔ ha. Ɔbɛka biribi a.
Yeah, my money now makɔ aba bio. Yeah, that was some cost na munya time at the share program no. Yeah, best say wo asem busa you can be now tia say feel free na send the brain na you hu. And I saw person join the discussion na also with me email and I say over record the voice video ba. You person mu nyina involved na nyina you nyina try say be better Christian so and you say on a program no obi bia suggestion and contribution in share anymore that was it.
That's it. Yɛwɔ yɛn nua Seth Seth nso sɛ ɔbɛka biribi wɔ ha.
Hello, me checha na me just there and that's the baby we are going to discuss and the baby will be we say stay glued na bio host in but subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page so subscribe to it so that we can go on. The more I hear Casino, then we are reaching a wider audience, and
right.
Keep subscribing, and then also share with your friends if you find it interesting. Share with your friends. Now, I'm also a friend that won't TB because in the topic here, a friend then more your host Becca and I believe they'll be very interesting. Just obviously stay glued and then listen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next person, Eben, for some reason, Eben Baswachek. Well, this is his first time. He's a part of the team, but I think scheduling wise, time I bit try to record and now and also he's engaged with other projects near there, For the very first time, we have Eben on this podcast with us. So you have Eben, so I can be kakra.
So, Medasa Walter, I share for your friend Evan Nigeria, we on your Prakope, Mr. More Central Branch Church of Christ. And I think that Walter, the reason why I'm in by program this for a long time, was summarizing in me to know. But John Piaka said, I'm looking forward to having the conversation this evening and basically trying to also make sure say common channel our question or comments be out with media brand at your home come up going forward. Madam Wase.
Yeah, that's in here. All right. The next person, Daniel and so Daniel Becca Bibi Kakache.
The OBBS said or show for the past couple of weeks I started a program now. Maybe we are yet to unfold so many things that are yet so interesting about the church and also about the youth at what Churches of Christ maybe to me a boy sure say and as the days go by bit me at the say reaching out to a lot of churches a lot of church members and our youth are more amongst so API in-depth or knowledge about the church. API will various churches but API through this podcast about community about the entire also your Church of Christ now yet we in a year. See, this is one of the things that we are doing from our point and from our end that Ebebuama as in one way or the other, it's me especially the churches in the diaspora to the work.
Yeah, that's it. Sunday kind of today's topic is more about retaining the youth in the church and how we can engage the youth to be more active in the church. We have our new email address. So if you have any questions, you can be and also if you want to be a part of the discussion, let's say we said something and you want to join and you want to come share your opinion about the things that we talk about here now. It's today in the kingdom at gmail.com. So we'll reach out to us. We're glad to take any criticism, any anything you think that we need to talk about and also we need to correct, or we're gonna accept it in good faith. So in that topic, there's a reason why I wanted us to talk about this. So we just know said the just ended lectureship that happened at Central Bronx Church of Christ, and based on Nema me observe and some of the things it's like most of the youth, they are worried about staying in the church, right? I think that Eben would attest to this. There's a guy that wrote in a group chat say, if say oh mommy, I sorry oh mommy be what too no chinchina say was so because say nipa when people start asking these kind of questions now, we can all assume say they like they want a way out, and I say yeah omwani j asafo to a core and to a certain point engineer the money past Saturday a questions but your Church of Christ more you perceive Nema and now kwanya ebefa so ama your youth or be more engaged, they'll be more happy to be a part of the church. And as we go, I'm going to talk more about some of the things that we can discuss. One of the things that the person discuss effective communication. How awofo any mpo asempakafoɔ ne nenimufoɔ no yɛbɛsi a communicate with the youth, because there's your dream say yeah old syllables and I say yeah old like the way I did sitting in my and then they don't understand things in that way. How do we have an effective communication with the youth? And I don't know, so we'll be percent or started off with that side of the topic. Now you share a quiet bit me afaso at the ISRDN.
I think I'll start off in terms of the effective communication part. No, so okay. I think that most of the time, no, right? We neglect to learn, and because when we neglect to learn as leaders, we are kind of like stuck in our ways because saying a and that's how we learn from the past, and so we're going to kind of like continue. But who said if you actually there is something called change, and obviously change has to be dynamic. But at the same time, when it comes to the word of God, you're not going to change the word of God, but also being able to make it relevant. Making it relevant means say, oh, my sermon, your life experience. I'll not say you. First of all, as a preacher, man, you obviously have to like survey the demographics and understand who you're preaching to. And and I feel like most of the time, that's what most of the churches of Christ do fail to recognize, because we're used to a style of preaching and not realizing there are other elements to add on to the preaching to make sure whoever's the recipient of the message is being able to repent from whatever that they're in, and also being able to be edified fully.
Right.
Societal issues, baby, like such as mental health, such as like political issues and whatnot. And I believe that any effective preacher should be someone that would be able to use the word of God, right, and blend it with societal issues to make sure that the person that is listening to the sermon has some sort of comfort. Because ukuskua, the HRO is real life stuff. And so you come home and you with the church or you're home within a certain faith, log in and say, oh, this is what I've learned and this is what I want to kind of like impose my knowledge on the church. But that wouldn't happen, right? So there should be a fine line between say, okay, we're given messages or sermons that are relevant, that addresses the societal issues, but we're not deviating from the doctrine or the teachings of the church. That should be one of the ways that we should look at. But most of the time, that what I've observed in this, when these youth are bringing up their concerns, it's basically shut down. And I also see said like the more you're giving people a no, a no, a no consecutively, no, they'll kind of like refrain from engaging with you. And so that was like the first thing I like to kind of like bring up as in terms of effective communication. It has to be very relevant and time bound. So those
All right, thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. And I like that idea. Say effective communication. You know, we talk about things that are very relevant. One of the things that I noticed, they say, imagine you're a preacher. You've been preaching for this years, right? What preacher? And then to say, I can't know. So let's say you're talking about fornication. You will talk about when during your days you go behind the girls' window. You would throw stones at the and chance they kind of say they go for they say roofing sheet, you know. What could just what to avoid so maybe sorry no the whole so for as a winning no and I would they can. But you need to know say and name no say akora be kwa kobo adwaman a enye chance a wokoto ato ebo a wokoto ato chance dan so ela on the be. We have social media, we have all avenues are ebo amaye de bo adwaman. So who as a so for no. So if you are not able to keep yourself abreast with these changes, and this manner, I think that it won't help the church. That will be for I'm gonna give them the chance to talk. I don't know, said
Kofi made me actually be kakra. So yeah, that's anyway, even the about this topic near say I think say it's a good topic, but you to me can't wait without talking about Nehemiah a course on Krano. Emma, if I say, and I say people not staying in the church. One of the people, I mean, like Eben said, no, one of the key factors need preacher and the leadership. But then the first people I think say we should talk about is the parent. As a parent, no. Oh, not sorry, sorry, the preacher and the whatever. And you know, there was some basic name as a parent, and I say parents, you know. I was say we didn't kind of shame crying. Sorry, we sorry. But I say I used to teach in Krana there Bible for some. It be on my even for Bible so the Bible for back church, you know. We bet many parents na kasasa. I be a once be know the back over. It be on my consistently send the pan be back so important time for the kid to benefit from Sunday school. Said yeah, you did doctrine and the bet the children. Parent need be Bible 20 minutes to the end of ABA Sunday school. ABA every other week. This week or next week or so there are so many factors that echo society and I think the baby I mean who say see a static free pie parents, you know, and parents, you know, or one or man and crying benefiting in so many ways. Or back no in your consistency and crying benefiting in so many ways. So to me, you know, and if you and Casasono and to tell me they will be on more banana or tablet, the amount crown, cranitinus in your friend is saying, where you tablet no book give no essay, but over Kobe be maybe on Krebi on ma even a broke Central, Mr. Lai, the man how disciplined he was, none of money yet like Ombe sorry, Ombet, yes, sorry, I'll boom some cranny, sorry be. Omoye, Ninano ye, and Yemebia, and yet the church, you know, and I said the preacher and the mom, yes, Omu I be basso. But parent Nan Casano, I was so wooden kind, I built the platform, and I said the a year and son, I saw let me be a dear acronym. And says you'll be full, you do a cobosom, so bosom no, one need penny diana, so bed that na could do conform. Na conform drew honma or man be no we know the between Mudian movie afina, Waben, eti, say bear any pan between an alcohol, say bear or dear come up a corner, I don't know. the parents no different who be most of the parents no here in Ghana near Dinano. You only probably brown when no money started Sunday school, Abia, and ya Ghana, Abia. You see, won't be either so many beam, either say once a while be no more. Akurem, they are saying lifestyle be a who so what this will be be crying to me show say, hey, Nipa we are no say na say pan or ababe. So I think say parents no a fairly gradually, a fairly big time because a ba say Nipa tina sorry man and I say youth no say focus here talking about youth. A ba say youth tina sorry and yeah, then I think say most of the parents are failing big time because same post one bit me a man crying at me about no my bad making sure so more transient you know and no I don't know one issue non campus say and at the church no on the other side so no so they even kind of your programs are the more and as time goes on I know say you know near the so mean for time be but I know say as time goes on you better discuss this animal in our programs are the youth sometimes your sermons I did but no as you're targeting more of the adult more yes so be any idea but say a dynamic say sermon every Sunday and I say every aviano ubia or hubia timian share a bit me I think abo mo timi I strong in the church. So as we go on I think say ubia ni probably there are so many department they feel in the church ama sad you know I mean most of the members of the church leave the church, and yeah, and I'm personally can come back. You become more going forward.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Brasset.
Okay. But that's on the topic. So, touching on what Akwesi said, Awful. What's the charity begins at home. And if the child is or interested, asor Name beje asor no jumeze ho obotum na watinema. From Bawa Basisia, no, they are very intelligent, very, very intelligent. Also, how the parent your involvement in church activities. In terms of how you the mother now you brought me into the church, you know, or I'm following you into the church, you know. You don't have any interest in whatever goes on in the church. The church is your second priority. So the child really doesn't see the need or the importance for him or her to actively involve because our chapel when you feel like it's when you come. And to know what is your involvement as a parent in the life of your child when it comes to church or a friend coming to church. And only a one issue. And then let's come to the church itself. What are we doing for some of them to, I mean, stay? Because it's a lot of them are going. Like they don't even find anything interesting in the church. And then let's take the program recently. Was it last week? And last week Central Bronx It's one of the ways I'm able to use to get attention of the youth. On year one-off thing, but like maybe yearly or maybe half a year, no, we can do something like that to bring them together. Because once I remember when we came, I was talking to some of this youth, and they were like, "This is very interesting." Like it doesn't even know that there are a lot of youth like this in the church. Or be that like she's stuck in somewhere, nothing goes on. Like she doesn't see anything. They be all about the same old faces in painful, not no one. But them coming to see there, there are other youths like my age mates, a lot of them from all other places coming, they were very, very happy. And it was an interesting thing. And one, let's a friend say, partner with sister congregations, neighboring congregations to organize such programs. Only a one way or friend then able to me now I get the youth involved. Let's remember that and yet Ubia and parent here church member. Some of them like they came what back Ubi Hania could be no inviting or in a bed. So how do we get such people? On the mother and the parent issue doesn't really affect that person. So the person and the parent or whatever is not here, no. We should try and organize such programs. Friend then also okobohu ne fellow youth. And then let's get the youth involved in church activities. Once they come, once they're in the church, what are we doing for them? Let's get them involved when it comes to activities, run activities of the church. Because if Waba and every day in Pimfuna way or better now, there's nothing he or she is doing. In Toba or better now noko or better now noko, he doesn't even see the need. Even though I have to come to church, but what is pushing me to come? There should be some force. Even the Bible says, "Do not forget the assembling of the saints." That is there, but still we forget in any way or the other. So chapel. And to know, Baba, what is the driving force or driving Mowabe Chapel? If there is no driving force, the person is not involved in anything. The person will just go, especially when they get to colleges. Or he doesn't do anything. It's Marseille. And that is it. I always say I give like the congregation I came from as an example. There were some of this youth, they were very young. Even they were not done with JHS in Ghana. But we brought them together like this projection and all those things, this media stuff. And they picked it. And trust me, what we be in the university, when we're there in the high school, office school or you go with maybe or chapel. So the person will come to church. Even on Wednesday evenings, some of them will come. On Sundays, they will come. Because when him there, he has something to do the church. So if the youth know or the person who knows that I have an activity to perform or to do for the church, it helps the people, or it helps the youth. Until let's try to get them involved, getting them involved in church activities. No, so also boy, my friend, and with Tumina, you maintain one. But if I have nothing holding in my hand, it's very easy for me to drift away. But if there is a responsibility that the person or friend and at least on background that who is going to do this, it breaks the person's mind. You know, and see, it helps the person to stay. That's one thing I'll say for now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's what I said. Obey.
That's it. And saying to me, yeah, shit, sad away. Now, the whole shit question, what I will be saying, I just wanna, piggyback on the enough Fred Aircano. And it's one of the things that if we neglect, and that's what, when you see these questions coming up, it tells you the failure that's coming from, I would say most especially from the parents. Because you'll be at war when your interactions with teenage years, now no din komo, and I watch my dear was Sunday school. We have to understand, say, we live in a declining society. And what I mean by that is that our moral values and our we don't, it seems like the kids or the children that are coming up, they are being swayed away from these values. And a lot of them is because of say parents are so busy and preoccupied with enema yenyini spiritually. The man say, oh, I was here baniku school. The man say, I was here bano osuya de no onya career papa. But yet again, we neglect the spiritual aspect of these kids. Sa akola tena sorry mo. Na adwin ne se o me ma me na ekwa sorry. Me papa na ekwa sorry nti na wo se me di na chikwa. Na e kire se efie honom no enema bi ate akam. no na ma na preachers ni bi eka so enya sorry na betete Obama. Yes, the church also has a role. Most bitim yebeka ho asema, they play a vital role in the development of these youth and these kids. And also take a more bedroom maybe no. We won't have any church. So soon parents and baby uncle free banners so no. Since you said your parents are, these kids will grow up to ask questions. A church say they don't know the reason why they have to follow or they have to go to church. In as much as possible, they say obeba the Church of Christ. Inti say if you honum and baby uncle free banner say spiritual growth anywhere. Emma nkwala no who the need and the necessity you place it nyamesom mu. And in the Bible ne ka Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6 it say so what kyerɛ abɔfra no kwan a ɔmfa so a onyina ɔmfiri ho. You might ubetumi ahu akwala bi at the age of 9 years and nneɛma a onim wɔ Bible mu no if ɛkyerɛ wo baabi a akwala no ne upbringing ɛfiri ba. Akwala bi yebetumi awo akwala bi ato fie bi mu a within the age of 6 years or you see all these bad words, all these bad words are you might not think of it say akwala or 6-7 years kurabeka. The common and say the church has a role to play. We'll come to that, but then the parents in this category I can once mean play a major role. It is a way a Church of Christ ni now ba sorry no not the beer ba now ba it may be beside this question now. You have to ask yourself, say, what am I doing? Because oba etia see the entire Church of Christ. It just said you are teaching him about things that you believe, things that you value.
Yeah.
Not only in the secular world, but also in the spiritual world. Tiakolano will do a chia miyakwa, what ya say, unim dintia, ya bompaye, unim dintia, ya kwash. Mamma, typical example. Me baba kitwaya, ona is here obejina chira obomo osu. Unim se kwasia de bia, ya kwash or inti. Se kwasia de dunia and kwash or no, ya kwash or your friend of bompaye. I said, Dad, are we going to bompaye? What I say? They say, oh, ABI, not yet, yeah, ABI, and the yanko. On the only man you know, bompaye because on co school, on study school. These are values, so we instill our colony more. Only now so would drink a coin, I bet, or do on befaso, but a lot of times, yeah, not you really say, from near man, so I was said, you didn't call any faso. To own you know what question you know so or beside questions are a bit boama was so wouldn't have for that pattern. By the time I only 15, 16, 17 years and not what the entire Church of Christ I say. Together with the rulers or so a bit plain. Until we start off with the failure on the part of parents. Not friend I want to say I said Castle I could be on ne maame ne papa emma asori nim eno no saa kola na ebia wo waba asori ne bi ebia at a younger age and now obey at the teenage years no then the church come in and they put things in place ebe boama say nipa krono eni abeje ho through education, through mentorship, through a lot of things say yeah get the person close to omo if you so betimia ama akola no anasa oni kron nani agi asori but the Kenya na could parent what na asori no ache for so many years now so these are the same people omuma bisa questions say why should I even follow my dad or my parents to church and it's a very unfortunate question it be free your mouth about it basa na wo parent no in a way you failed on your part.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so this part of the podcast, yes, yeah, bet you say the parents have a major role to play. So this is the point that this mother has groomed the child in the church, bombarded the child with like the doctrine of the church. I'm crying. They understand everything, and then here comes modern day challenges, right? There's a lot of Nima Afefe Bibre other churches. There's sorry ade na aka na you see say omo no nneɛma omo yɛ no ewiase sorry no they like it's attractive, it's very attractive. How do we as a church then address this modern day challenge? Say yeah nneɛma na yɛbɛyɛ no yɛso yɛbɛtry sɛ yɛbɛyɛ ama na ayɛ nkora ne fɛ. Fine, we can say we're not doing things to please people, but ɛkwan bi so no sɛ yɛsɛ yɛkɔtwe nipa aba na saa nipa twɛn no ayɛ den ama yɛn, because yes, and it's not easy to get people to leave their church. They said most of us most of us the church of Christ down here. So if somebody is trying to lure us or into a different doctrine, it's going to be hard for those people. The same way, so will be our SDM, will be our Jehovah Witness and our Pentecostal setting. It's the same way almost. So it's harder for them to leave what they've been trained with. How do we say attractive and as how do we address the modern day challenger almost so facey? I don't know whoever that wants to go. Eben, afraid that would be
I'll take a stab at it. And again, it goes back to what I was saying before in terms of being relevant with your messages. And another point I would like to allude to would be actually 2 points. The first one, creating this as some sort of a community, right? You're fostering relationships and belonging. So I know say a hammer in terms of like the parents' responsibility, but we also have to focus on the other side of the coin, which is the church leadership as to what exactly are they doing to help these people, especially the youth that are coming into the church. And if we're going to be honest, if you look at the churches in the diaspora, not just in the United States, but again, diaspora means globally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the enthusiasm that people have in terms of worshiping God, it's not the same as you compare it to like that being in Ghana. Like for example, Ghana and saying, you saw how church was at Osu. If you try to take that and bring it here, it's not going to work because everyone's demand is different. Everyone's need is different. So it's about time that I think strongly believe this too, that the church leaders in the diaspora need to be able to reform or renew their minds in terms of understanding, say, yes, we are people of Ghanaian descent. However, we've been in diaspora for whatever number of years. We've been to workplaces and we've seen how things are done, which means that we're acknowledging the cultural shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I still stand by this. Acknowledging the cultural shift does not mean you say, oh, it's not the teachings of the church. That's different. But recognizing, say, okay, for example, for me being from my profession, when I work with like certain folks, let's say if I do events, I work with X, Y, and Z people, and this program is kind of like planned out certain way. Take that knowledge and kind of bring it into the church. That way, as a main idea, oh, ABI, if I'm doing a breakout room to like talk about a subject like the church, use that method to teach. That way it's easy to digest than it being, oh, the church is this and that and that and that. Like sometimes it doesn't sit well because again, these people, they've learned and they hear a lot of things.
Yeah.
And again, back to the point of culture, no. The Ghanaian culture is always and no, and I'm telling you this because I've experienced this many times. Sebe, papa no mo so you're having a conversation because you are basically looked down upon. And the more you're pushing these kids away, right? You're not engaging with them. Let's say you're a church leader, the kids are texting you or they're trying to reach out to you via a phone call. You don't return messages. You don't text back. You're slowly neglecting them, right? And so if you're neglecting them and they also take a stand, because these kids, they're smart. They once they take a stand like, hey, I'm standing on my ground. I'm not going to entertain this in this conversation anymore. That's it. You've lost them. And that's when Sebe, Obi feature or by no there at the ever catching the and say, hey, say, your church be what hanum. Say, or quiet, bema, say, they're quick to go. And that is a problem. And for me, I mean, I've been born and baptized into the church, and I can count a number of times. And again, I don't say this to praise myself or anything, but again, it goes back to certain things as culture. Ghanaian culture is basically a idea or church. Yamin does not really mean a lot. Sometimes, it goes beyond just Yamin Shao. Like, you have to be invested in the relationship and the kid. It's like you have a plant and you're not pouring water into the plant all the time, right? And the plant is trying so hard to go through the whole process of photosynthesis. Let's say it has the sun and whatnot. It's not going to grow to its full potential. So we have to use languages that are very familiar and making sure say in because again, we can say we know, but if we cannot digest it, making that digestible format for these kids to understand that, we're going to lose them. So that's the first part. The second part is the authenticity. So with young minds, they're very vibrant, right? They want to be heard all the time. They want to ask questions and whatnot. Now, when it comes to that part, in terms of authenticity part, I believe most of the time, again, to the point that I made earlier, church leaders are not willing to receive that. I don't know why, but I still think it revolves around culture. That's my opinion. And so letting it be a space where they can ask those uncomfortable questions. Why do we do this? And you being able to have the patience to teach them why we do this. And again, doing expository stuff like the Bible said this and that and that. You have your belief on that, but what does the Bible say? If we're able to get that, it would be much more welcoming than it being like, oh, yeah, they say they don't do this and yeah, they don't want to hear me out. Yeah, let them believe whatever they want to believe. But again, the Bible is still strong and will never be changed. The Bible is complete. And so, who believe it be? Not submissively believe it be before. It's something called litmus test. We test it, whether you're saying acid or base. So if it's base, the Bible will prove it is base. If it's acid, the Bible will prove it is acid. So that's the other second point. I know I'm talking a lot, but I think the last one I'd like to make would be something around technology. And I know Brother Seth started making that point. And Walter, as I said before, it was like we are all strong in our faith and whatnot. But in all honesty, in Kuala a church Nimono, I was like, maybe they might have gained church experience in Ghana and probably throughout the diaspora. I wouldn't be surprised where a few years to come, these charismatic churches will win them. And the reason why I'm not surprised is because of how media is moving now. In the churches of Christ, and this is again a global problem. I mean, mostly in the Ghanaian congregation too, it's a global problem. And from my purview, it's a global problem because when it comes to production in the church alone, right? And production means investing in the right technology to make sure that the messages that you're preaching is well delivered. That's why I talked about relevance and whatnot. When it gets to that part alone, we don't focus on that. And obviously, what your eye sees is what you get attracted to.
Oh yeah.
We're not saying change the message that you're preaching, but rather invest in the right resources. That way, even again, if I can't even understand what you're saying, as soon as I know that, oh, on a Sunday, North Bronx, Central Bronx, they have their sermons being streamed on XYZ platform. I want to watch before I go to church, or they have this program that they do at midweek. I want to watch before I join whatever I want to do. Once the quality is there, and then again, it's a familiar language that they can understand, you engage them. But here's a case where we're trying to infuse our native language, fine. We try to also infuse English. It's a lot going on. So I think again, my point that I would like to make is our church leadership specifically need to think about creating a community, also making sure that we're allowing our youth to be more authentic, and then lastly, making sure that the technology partner is being adapted and infused in the way that we're approaching things. Because a few years to come, again, I see this, and I think you've kind of like alluded to it in the past few weeks. I don't think there might be a church in the diaspora, in my opinion.
Oh, I mean, yesterday I had a conversation with Fred and Isaac, and I was stressing on that set. The Church of Christ, especially in the Ghanaian diaspora, we don't have a future, bro. We really don't, because our shit near air coso and like other churches, yeah. Now when they compare, ours is not gonna look attractive to import or more immuno and sorry, I say a perfect example, like the word retention, like I said, we were talking about retaining, right? When you go to companies, right? I know the church is not a company, but local companies near there, they have, most companies have somebody they call the retention specialist, especially companies that they deal with clients. So let us take this Church of Christ organization as a whatever a organization, and we are trying to retain the client. How do we retain these clients? One, you have to do research. You have to find out what the church needs. Yes, we know sorry, I bet them. I go see any more marker. The Church of Christ. Say if we say me bad Church of Christ, every year December be obete Christmas asem. Obete Easter do obete Easter asem. Yes, fine, they are relevant. You do on relevant there. But it's like our church is becoming very repetitive. So it's always doctrine. Yes, and I love it. Doctrine, we should teach that in Sunday school. Say Sunday school now, a new convert class or no, a chill doctrine. But say during the worship and I said during regular, that is always dwelling on doctrine. While Brown said nipa our day-to-day activity, and yet doctrine here then me nam hey, and now me da sorry me medino, and no na medjene ho. Say bia me mantare she, and we asimu how ne amani hunu ne ma ni pe go through no. Na my boss sorry na me person be TBB. Like sometimes you just want to hear things that is going to touch you. And one of the things that these charismatic churches they are doing is their sermons are very, very catchy, bro. They say so we pa omo asofo no yeah but friends or more but almost sermons are very spot on. Their sermons are spot on and very idea with me related to. But ever as a Church of Christ, I saw them. Most of the Church of Christ are so funny, they don't even go through any refreshers. Like it's all what they know from the 60s. And we don't do any resilience training for our leadership. We don't do any conflict management.
Conflict resolution.
Most of Church of Christ issues are in and how do we resolve conflicts? These things we need to train all these because so there's the American say, sir, bro, a big issue. Me say, and I know group chat here there also. When you are reading the group chat, you will see say the youth, this church in North America, the Church of Christ in North America, we have no future, bro. Say PBB and shim. Now you start and working towards that day now. You need future. I don't know the can be there.
Yeah. I think that they all can now, but like I was saying, I think it goes beyond that. And it seems like yesterday, I'm a leadership preacher, but not really. They kind of say it's true because so we've been on a youth leadership for a while. You be paying. Sometimes some organizations, some programs now you can and Isaac, I see Isaac are joining. So Eden. You kind of say sometimes it's me organizing program and my youth, we put too much effort, and then the same faces will show up. And the same, so yes, I'll see a year and near my mom, you wait me again, of course, where's the nice place I bet me the youth now, just to keep them entertained and to, not true that the doctrine, didn't show me. Wait me, I any money, but at the end of the day, the few people now, Omotabana, Omoana. So yes, it's good to see a better programs, it's good to see a better, but I think that is part of the problem. And one of the issues near communication, and the two, addressing issues. I think people or the youth now are very more like liberals. Like I think so, but you can't a natural say nipa condo bonnet, but how I control like and near my outside the effect to the extent say if I see yes I need money and baby I can't communication is how the leadership and the preacher no ABC no my day akasa or ABC a church radio and the many panel but sometimes you go on like they will be see address at no crab is up pan but you can't tell me say this is the Church of Christ now Abra Bible nekase be ma so yitiko na wo pese wo boat na wo di wom. This is not the Church of Christ. What you say? So these are the things that the youth also know. Omukondo said they want to do those things. So then if you're not going to let me do it there, I'll go somewhere or maybe and the friends or no more college. The friends or no more, they see most of them have dress, most of them have piercing and everywhere near there. And convention, board drums, they are in the church, immersed in the church. So why can't I do the same thing in the Church of Christ? It's about conversation, it's about sending them down, like, and all parties, parents, preachers, leaders, elders, obia, like, church and crown. I'm gonna say, okay, this is what the Bible is saying. It's not about because I make it. It's not about say it's about so betting panase from where he or she is coming from. Now open, as the leader or as the preacher, no, also what two boys in what church. But see a compana, like I said, the youth now no a dot said Paul kind like say do we are no. And I can't do we ask more. My friend, you can't do we ask more. We want to do all this stuff the world is doing and still be Christians. It's not gonna work like that. And in a way, and I think say yes, you bet me I programs, you bet me anything, but say nya kwan bi so a betimi nyese we organize program na keke e kwan be so na betimi have effective communication with the people and I say the youth I'm on me abro makuma say e dey age asem. I think Stephen or somebody was telling me a story about obi koye bibi, but the way that the leader said it, no a pamoni pana complete crime and pan the age akoi. So how I be seen and that's where the leadership almost lack it, because I think that their focus is more with the and Penifono is about near me Kosovo Ghana, near me near there, and we forget about the youth near there. So a horn and Penifono, I think said the issue comes in say as a woman time mankasa to say the Sunday school Kosovo. How often our Church of Christ you see a leader and I say be the preacher say meaning Sunday school no ho share the Kosovo what is being taught at the classes near the and Krana Muwa so no. How often they be a leader be from to the side, even to ask them what's going on in school, tell them what tech and be a BB channel, so BB Hano. How often they be a leader be randomly with Frakrabi and Nedin Komo, see. Those are the kind of things that they lack it so much, and there's no relationship between the youth and the leadership name Penifono.
So I do okay say you broke deeper note or there were home pie Brakwashi war no afro no bisal school to say we cause these are some of the things that I would say leadership they need to start doing. So that's it. And Crown, even the fact that sorry penny fra busa and then they did that basic level
somehow they open up to you. Yeah. That's where they but say a band say organizing programs in Kwa, I don't think that's enough because in the past, no, yeah, you be so no. I
was see how many times yes I
what about me conceptual? There's been some even sometimes when you tweak Isaac, I remember, and I don't know why you argue if you are me, well, obeying if you want you bet me ankasa and you fa asosika time and yet Mr. Hornum two bottom say yeah just to bring the youth together. Now, but some people
they used to show up.
Thanksgiving, we used to do it. Thanksgiving, yeah, I think just our ways are like we were going our way. But someone said some people will come, if we on my bar and see a you know, it's not enough for him or her. I see people on bar or be flashy or because ABI he's not interested in that. Or baby or quiet near my more.
Antina, again, it goes back to again leadership, and you individuals know how you foster relationships. Because again, I said it before, if we're able to build a community where the community is built or centered around trust, and we can bear each other's burden, none of these things will be going on. Because I mean, maybe feel listen about community move. Not, I don't think I'm in a safe space to have these controversial topics or bring up about my fear and concerns up front to discuss it. Then I'll go to the place where I feel safe and secure. So we need to also like look into that, because again, we can always shift the blame on church leaders, but yes, they are the main main people on the top to make sure that things are being done right. By the end of the day, and also know what can Eben I do to make sure say Fred, Daniel, Seth, and Walter Isaac we are all engaged, because now we're also part of the problem. Most of the time, no, I feel like, as I said, I feel like the churches in the diaspora, you cannot try to use the dynamics or the mechanism that you use in Ghana to operate the church in the diaspora. Sebi, Kromhanum, me to me, in Ghana, I can just walk up, I'm coming to your house, let's have fun. Meet me here and let's talk. Here, everything is like regimented, right? I was refer, hey, we are available if you meet me about if you. So these are the things that are causing the declining of the youth, because obviously there isn't like a fellowship between the youths. And so, yes, you would go ahead and create the program. However, now the aftermath of the program is what matters. Now, to the other point that Kwesi made, and I'm going to actually throw that question back to him. So I know right now in Yamiaradom, you have kids and you would have kids more to come. Assuming you have a male right now, right? A son, and your son starts to braid his hair, and you said it many times, like, hey, don't braid your hair. It's not in the Bible, because that's what you believe, right? That's what you believe. You think you have Bible support to add onto it to kind of make your point. But here's the case, the kid still believes that, hey, I don't think there is nothing wrong with this. How would you approach that issue? Because you see, most of the time, the way that young leaders know or money in quality engaging is what puts them up, which you already explained to kind of like made the point to it. But you see, at the end of, there is difference between culture and then the difference between the Bible itself. And we cannot just try to be like, well, this is what it is and this.
Well,
and that.
when it comes to braiding hair, no, it's not really about culture in itself.
It's biblical. That's why I asked you. How would you? I'm going
to I thought you were asking me, but now
no.
That's the part that you see as a leader. So a leader, there's nothing much you can do as a leader. What I see, emphasis of being a leader. Now maybe a youth, my bomity. Or be a friend in because and that's where beginning we were stressing on the parental aspect. I just say yes, a leader could do so much and a preacher could do so much, but a preacher cannot come to you by force. Say, and you may be a parent, preacher leader ain't mean corner to that extent.
But sorry to interrupt, but in our culture, that's what happens. The preacher man would not address it with the person that has done whatever. It goes straight to the parent. And then the parent would take the anger on the child. And that's not how it's supposed to be. If you think...
What do you mean by that? Because I don't understand what you're trying to
say. Assuming Eben Ejari made Mabomiti right now, right? Mabomiti right now. Assuming Mabomiti. I go to church this Sunday. No one addressed it. My parents have tried to talk me out of getting my braids out. And I said no. And I go to church this Sunday. The preacher man is not going to come address that to me. they will go through my parents and try to talk to my parents to come talk to me. And that's not how it's supposed to be. Most
Why
of the time, but most of the time, no, because you're the leader. Because again, sorry, and you've seen the sin on me. You're the preacher man is supposed to address it to me. And that's the point. Let me add this. Let me put it real quickly.
Okay.
It's not make us say when these things happen. This is the reason why the church leaders are supposed to be able to build some sort of relationship with these individuals. Because so when they and some sort of relationship, that's why you need to know. Now we'll go through the parents to make sure that the parents should do it. Parents, why you need to marry? You, the spiritual person, no, are supposed to like use the Bible to correct them and obviously help the parents.
I think that Eben, I think that a honor near many akwasi adwene say I was so to go to the parent first because first of all, say parents no credit the kind of krana kasa. How would the osofu know? So he
exactly.
And mama no be kasa, parents no be kasa say oh obey it or the buy and then kasa no onye day uncha. Osun sofu menena ka onye day unti. Then you bring the osofu in with the mom and the child because at the end of the day, no, by law, no osofu because you can't go and talk to somebody's child that way. You need the parental consent to have that conversation. So I can say, it's a one of the many but
yeah, I think that we're going in circles. Like I don't know yet tackle no. You're jumping from here and there. But
right.
I think that I was here finding out one after the other. And yes, you to me accomplish the PCA in it. Because just a few minutes ago we were talking about the leaders. Now we are talking about individual things.
I think we just got carried away because this topic is made me say
may draw my attention to it. Because you can't be before and it's say before until I may draw your attention.
Okay.
It's just the time but
now okay.
What am I making mistake not short one not brush it into us. Oh, is that not what I will come about? Churches of Christ, Nehemiah is so repetitive because the Nimsi Ebekano January no. It drew her January and 1 year back and December drew her in Christmas. April drew her in Easter. The reason I mean me who know the tea I mean me who say I think that the church don't have a curriculum. And it goes back to the leaders, no, and the preacher. And sometimes the entire sorry no, you fairly never a trickle down to these children and now the youth, and they say the leadership don't have a plan and a structure. And that's the problem that we have. I boil it down why am I could read the year can me. It's a structure. Now there's a plan, there is a curriculum. Yeah, you go school. There's no way I'll be share topic A. Now by December, I will say could share the same thing.
And then the class no crowd
the following year say could share the same thing. Yes, the church is run by the scripture or it's run by biblical beliefs, but you bet to me and your curriculum, maybe this quarter we are talking about I deal with because you'll be what 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and so the book of Abia Revelation and the 666 could I want to once that.
Yeah.
What did they mention us? Yeah, why did you have more and yet related to and yet only biblical, but you when you maybe one more and yet related to life issues to say you tear your boy and it's on your money may and no yen can was some was muda and ebia for the past 5 years and the no boy sukrano when Nimpokra said churches of Christ so both here as a man it's not acceptable by the Bible. These are structures or these are planner is done by the preacher and then the leaders. Say be bit to me and they are sorry now for a particular knowledge the whole year no then quite the same thing.
Oh yeah.
But say ekobasi ye ni sa structures no and ye ni sa plan no ho no ma. And the we say something pops out of nowhere. Now boy say this month no ye the bibi abeto say oh who the pass me be we uni pass me say e sa na kwa say sorry no ye ni plan and ye need future about what we are doing. And not only the general congregation. Now, how do we plan? How do we provide structure for the youth? How do we do that for the children? Leadership. No? These are qualities we have to have as a church. And they start from the preacher man and the leaders. But okay. You follow leader be and I follow leaders are. On the leadership training program, we need that by ye man be. How are we going to project the church to the outside world? They say even ourselves we know what we're doing. Nipa no bano onya the adequate information ebe buana man sitting mu and ebe man nyame sum ase team na ekoye repetitive sorry ne bedru no obejai and youth no obeka say oh ebi na mo kan say December dru ebeka Christmas wasem January drew Rebecca we wasn't sa and was assuring the dynamic in so many ways say the assuring man fat nim dear you Bible you not lack anything but all the same you know you come and you say yes why you person you grow in our faith you know say you get involved in the activities of the church one my Wednesday sorry we see what that what I say?
Yeah.
I also bet me these are certain things. A certain ya near be a year. Church members na grown. Who you who him, and then you still expect the preacher man to give you everything on Sunday. It doesn't work like that. We fail. Maybe the who say the church is failing basically. Because of the leaders are not doing what they are supposed to do. The preacher men are not being dynamic as to how we're able to lead the church in a way and quite repetitive. And only problem churches of Christ you face.
The time record, you know, it's in Ubia under 1 minute. Brasset, Randy Okano, who under 1 minute. Why?
Yeah, mezzanine there.
The time would you do?
Catch them young and they shall be yours forever. How are we catching them young? I'm giving myself as an example. I got into the church. My father isn't a member. And my mother wasn't a member. It was later, answer, and I was still in the church. But there were some people like those young brothers. No, I was a kid, and they carried me on. If they are going for evangelism, Kofi bra, if they are doing this, Kofi come. If they are doing this, come. So with that, I became much interested in the activities of the church. And since then, until today, like I still have that kind of connection with them. So if we are able to relate with them, let's say Yabahade, it's very difficult, friend and stuff in here, or diaspora, but I think you can still befriend somebody like Impact Ruby, then you have that kind of open conversation with that person. Just target one person. And if we do that as Inyana Yin Kakrano, see, the person will open up to you in whatever situation he or she is going through. In same way, sometimes one can't show parents, but trust me, they'll come and tell you. It means that you've built that relationship with them in the church. And you know, Wamba you have that, you have this number. I was in Wamba Chapel. What is the problem? Then the person can tell you. But unfortunately, we don't have that kind of relationship with them. And you know, Obo, Wambo, I don't care. I don't smile. And there's this person, a friend, then I'm trying to. And if for some time I don't text another, or not to, I say, Uncle, so member chapel, even in text them be some why the member chapel. There's something I mean you. That's what can I say? Because I've built that one chapel. Some make, if I remember, why did you come to church today? Oh, Uncle, I was doing this. that's not an excuse. And like joking, I'll tell you owe me for not coming to church. You get it? So if we are able to create that kind of a relationship with them, it helps to maintain them.
True.
Still, if friend. Today, dreadlocks are working. Why you need to then we don't build that thing from the scratch, from the onset. Intimpano picks friends from anywhere. Then he listens to the friends. In Tawas Babano, it becomes too late for them.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
That is a good example because when me fa rabbit is a Priscilla. Since we started involving Priscilla in like doing things in the church, and you could see the spark in her. How Adibia or sorry. Even first, she used to come only days. Her mom is every other week.
Yeah.
She used to come every other week. But it's as I started as a whistle like the camera where you go and interview people and ask them what was the sermon about? What was this about? Now she's more engaged in the church. This our mommy man. Sometimes she call me, can you pick me up? You see? So what my I saw them crying shima. It builds them. But we have a situation here. We have leadership, but they don't involve the youth in anything. Or more involve youth in anything. So it becomes a problem. Isaac Unkasai.
Last week, no, coach, I left, but this all by herself with somebody, I think Ivan or recording the man.
Mama Isaac will see Mama Isaac.
Isaac Kasa.
Isaac will see the dear Robico.
What brilliant view. All right. And so I'm joining from when Anna Unia Fred Kasa and said to us and now being to us. And I think that they are and the best way to keep people in the church is to catch them young. The best way. Bible now says no okay say that aspect now say train up a child. That's a I do baby a bad dinner.
Yeah.
Because it trust churches ni nyina no and parents no need to ye nyina obi a asede say owo a na what try say from akola no e beginning ni na no wo de no be share church no because baby a wiase e ko no wo jai ade ni nyina ma church na e bedin na Ghana de e ya na ensheda nye enya dini too much. Oh, easy kakra se ubetimi awezi akola wo hono mu a wo de ne be share church no mu a ubetimi stay.
Yeah, what Fred Isaac Shenya easy say share.
Oh, may they compare
compared to how they way easier.
America hanum need there. It's not easy like that. Because you see your problem back when it's a parent, Wawuba Uni area days are unen akolano wofie no kakra bi wobekọ adwuma so akolano bia se school a obekọ school opon ba wo de na akoja sadek sadian o obeba do na akolano krada anase bia I don't know until within the day no akolano obehu a bia anopa na anase asa ase enti bibi wo ho a say wo di share akola no mu a enye asori ho eye fie asori de de bia meka say ye kosua de e wo ho nom ye be fie a e ho e na training no eye den e wo enti me no me ne mo ya adwen say the best way sanka ye nyina ye nya ya megimedi say ye te ha nyina most of ye nyina no eye train up no beginning na e na ya wo for start ya omde asori no share obi amu ane etiha enti wuye no efi hodom a church no so ewo bibia etwa se yeye na unfortunately no churches of Christ no I don't know as a dia mehun any say ye preachers and leaders no womo upbringing no as a di omwani more enti eya dene say ombetumi asesa anaso ombetumi edi ene trend na e konechi over the Pentecost. I have a friend there nipa meneno enyiye me started asoromu adwuma kra eja no me jimi hudi say semini ni hia say ye ka Bible mu asem adwuma mu a quotations a me meka ne eniama meye no oditum saa. But also no, he started as a youth and Pentecost for upgrade, you know, and then call youth pastor. From there, no, could be sorry, Virginia. And now didn't call it, just say, or what training more I say, or costro to say, obedo, you know. The American and he said, churches, that's they have leaders for every group.
Of course.
I mean, Presbyterian, YPG, APG, FPG, yeah. Good. Also, and ye pastors are almost that on one.
Yeah, so for Bakula or the Olodo
your preachers and elders, and but bro, yeah, you will be elder and leader. Yeah, you need one is it? Yeah, sorry, we have a meeting.
Have a meeting,
And the leadership no meeting, we ever throw.
Well, and only a problem I face is here. The whole year, baby, I made me boys to Church of Christ. November, not preacher, only elders, no. I did churches, no. Who problems are churches, church, no, a walk. Now they have what days are ekoshiemu. Now ne preacher no at tenacity. I feel we know. I saw no Hannah, I saw no two scenes. The person wouldn't church any BBA ebeba. There are other churches be a show no is being run by mostly the also for them kwa. And to anukwani ideas ne bia or the aba wunya preacher bia ana wunya say womu ye adwuma abom say bia okay this year ye kire ade we ebedu ha next year de yemfa emfri ha yanka youth na asem yanka we yanko abonten Church of Christ especially ye wo akon to mu ye bibia talkative we talk we sleep we sleep and maybe a practical say you call abonten ekoye bibi no we don't do it.
Oh yeah,
the individual you to me as a church no to me my obiaye as I say Sanya man nyina ekabom say aye yati ha no nyina say bi obi wo ho no ma obibi a oye wo church no enti Sunday bi edu a on pese obeto sorry no
yeah
over youth we are eba wo yasi ha no ma bro it was say your leaders and preachers no enye adwuma mbom na yenhwe the way a ye betimi keep womo in the church because days a womo bedi wo church na kasen mu no iswa parents e wo womo dia ye say omo ye na me I feel that me problem na de bia me kan say e nyama mienu you see ade bi wo ho a e sen ade bi wo ho no mu a enye sen sa culture asemu ne sa enyama na enya sen na ye betumi asua fi churches na aka no enyama na enya sen na ye betumi aye ma atwaso no we have to adopt it and do it.
Oh yeah
old style na ya church say 10 to 11 Bible 10 to say 10 to 10 11:30 the Bible ye wi ye sia ya bom pae efutu aba
Oh boy.
Anyum etumi ma enipa kawo sorry involvement involvement uma youth no atan omo akeka no ma wo mo enema bi aye den aye ma omo kawo church leadership na obenka mi ba agochiri ha churches ni na makomi who single day since 2009 me who single day I say yeah leadership retreat and I say yeah
Say, ya can't say, open say we penny what church. This is how we do it. We don't do those things.
Yeah.
The idea be or one and or they as well any
church in the future, Isaac.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so bad.
Oh, but only Isaac, I say my okay. Serious now, him. And now a show the state of the church in the future, because maybe not making kind of book could be or friend is simple. I go in the trail, Tom Run in the trail. I'll say the autopsy of a deceased church. Now some Isaac came and a walker. The book talked about it extensively. Said, sorry, any structure, any future, no? That church don't have any structure. How do we even appoint leaders? You made an important statement. Say, but down for what your friend is saying, Pentecost.
Yeah.
Now we share, baby. When you know, yes, churches of Christ, you don't have that kind of hierarchy. But imagine, say, you have within that leaders, you will each leader supervising these groups that are what are showing him.
Yeah.
You will leader or you're part of the leadership. See, as you could do eldership role now. These elders, the supervisors way but as already that stage, each leader you have something that you are doing as a group, as a leader, you are on top of a group. We see to say everything that embodied that group. When we are the leader. About children's ministry, a croya soften a bit, and one Yamadiama, Oba Utah, I will say, Bia, you to none, and be a better idea. And yes, idea, Sadia no. Sebekoswa as Obia Yedi no Ankasa, it's not coming from the leaders. And that's the problem that we have. Enti se adibi betosini wo youth anymore is because it's not being supervised by a particular leader who is in the leadership role. And to say a basse mobility na be interaction wise a decline because you need to be or boamayate youth and I say and what the youth stands for.
Yeah.
A man penny for the same thing into Bona a man a creative fellowship be now preacher man on I who come once somewhere baby we don't have a structure and that is draining the church and that is a sign that let's say as already a bit good action and it's a
time now. It may be more be 1 minute. Now we'll be at the wrap up, Mr. Time now. I don't know.
Okay. But the topic here very interesting. Said you can. I think that there is a care. Issues need free baby great. And the end to me solve just one side, penny and the other side. Say you kind of say the so what I think there was a parties in parent leadership, any preacher and even the youth themselves I think they say bet me so me coming together and whom baby issue now kasa wono e di ntina said the work involvement form and last be I think I forgot topic be near kan ho asem and time and near evangelism more radio so near dem. Yes, you can be said that time you call Bible mpuya more can be that. Say bia and I say betna computer and crane pick a course near the crowd. The more over okotena half no of mother. No so the more we involved, the more involved no. Now you can't say my own interest room because the name cram man could want a better machines in the yard. Am I? So I think say the the takeaway I mean film said they have to involve the youth more. And see involve in the church, overshare the way I can say the way I will see dress, the way I will see what tender, and then more check in a way because the idea shows that Untimina who Basabasabia say, yes, no believe these songs now, Bano should be another better now. No, yes, no, it's in a way, and yet this our responsibility in the show. And then most and I said the last time, say, even with this podcast, they start here, no. Emma, ye be no, as I to me transition, you hear by because we see the topic not one, so she be and San Wakot now, we go as all to Papa. So, and in the same way, no say one for me be and show Monsan will be Bano, Tim no Bano. Last night, he can near say, or more being pie one time. Now, the panigina, how much you been a boy. So by now, no, says any pana, woman empire, and that's all man appointment, they will be scratching. Now cry. So it's more about involving people in the church. Involve you more now. A bit more abwom more. Me and me say, you know, or start as you know, bonfire one Friday be they say at table the songs or bonfire like basically I'm say you be at the appointment be at the man yeah. So it starts from somewhere. Sometimes no be on one me who no will be our helper for so long. Yes, it'll be on the individual and so.
I'm going to my we can only say the first time me preach here was as a
youth week.
Yeah. The first time I've been preaching and so
youth week.
Me assure says I can just at the end and conform be
because opportunity no be that.
Yes, can you be that?
It's true. So I think said the takeaway they said they should involve the youth no more. Youth no more. Isaac they say who can lead this now until oh yeah can you na near Kadimount. And also before Simbakon, I think there shout out to Ben Moy, good job. I hope somebody keep putting up with the lectureship near there. Now I'm more
all right.
Yeah. I think
that's it. I wait, but obey when you will wrap up with 1 minute. Okay. So time to go.
All right. I think that the air Kenyan yeah, cassette I surrender bit to me engine. A couple of weeks ago, Obi Bisa a question near general meeting, Obi Bisa a question as to a choir North Bronx Church of Christ, you bet to me in the future, no, say be penny for the what or more on base swas or anymore. Now it boils down to the year Kenya. I said if you don't involve the church and now or more interested in sharing your belief system, the bedroom you know, the one said you fear say sorry any in the future and the die. But the idea ref say involving people in a particular spectrum, no, a bebwama sorry to me any. So be back to say they're not friend again. Yeah, public outreach. Nipa no de be oba ye mane nya hwe. Na obetena hwa no will lose interest. A bedroom maybe no or funny bag grab oba who the need in tia was oba into both wo jai. Obi wo no mo simple thing and keep it to me amana ye no. Ye mane nya na afi ne gidi e wo sa de no mo every mo. The second part I make a wrap it up and say before the church can grow, the leadership must move. Move in the church say abonteni yako ka semna. I will see who say leaders need movie. Now my members and also follow. But we have leaders who are not even sacrificing their time for a near my bema sorry to grow. What I say? And near my sorry grow no business yako Kenya kupo asemo. Na ye ni plan be say ye the trema some junior aquatic tracks and kwa. And no ma sorry ni. And no ma nkophobia anka bia nkomdo mo behiem behye nyankopon adwuma mama na akoso no omo nyina so betiada. The part of it is say and I'm stressing on the leadership because the bia be year a free identity. I don't think that we pay CEOs a lot of money. We pay Omukra managerial positions a lot of money because they are the think tanks of Libya, every organization or every institution. Enti leaders no and there was so much say on betimi the niema gu akwam I get the church involved. Some people you know be involved, but the few now are willing to get themselves involved. You know? We should get them involved. Sorry, there was a session plan and bibia your channel idea sorry ne faso se be na sorry no good achi.
All right. Brasset, corner, Uriah, na Eben, corner.
Okay. I think to maintain the youth, I think what we started with, Eben started with communication. And then if we are able to communicate well when things happen, okay, any youth being an issue, even your approach, okay, to the person, Obama impano or friend, then Obama the second thought whether to stay or to go.
Yeah.
If we come attacking, if the person sees you like that, don't say you are not there, you're basically you're correct. You just leave and go. Because he expects there as opinion as samba, you will take your time and then even come to me and then ask me what exactly happened. But if you come and then you punch, the person can't withstand you because in our Africa setting, what's the pain in young fundo? So whatever happens, the older person is always right. So
which is false. And you're not correct. 24 young from so that
do whatever you want to do. Me to have my you have your way, you have your say, me to have my way. So say what you want to say. Me too, I'll find my way. And as in Penifo coming up, we should learn how to communicate with this up and coming friends and youth, because they are very handling them. It's a bit difficult, and if you also take certain positions and certain stances, it makes it very difficult for them to come to you anytime. Because I give myself an example, I didn't have that luxury of having that kind of chat with my father. And a friend, then I try coming to you and you give me that, you put me off. I won't come to you again because I know that that's how my father behaved. So you two are going to do the same thing. I'm not even coming to you.
Yeah.
You get that thing. But if the child is coming and he sees you to be welcoming, trust me, with any issue, the child will come to you. Uncle outside. But if it comes and you are always being judgmental, condemning, and that kind of aggressive way now, we put a lot of them away. Sometimes why in the mind, he knows he has committed. And you can do more. You are just a friend that condemning, bombarding the person. You condemn in a way. But once the person comes, you start condemning and bombarding. But sure, don't count you. Or that's it. We are not called. You lost the person for good.
Yeah.
That's it. Communication, and then how to communicate with those people, very friends, that really, really matters.
All right, Eben.
Perfect. So thank you. So what I'd like to say is church as a family, but let's not forget as individual families that are coming together to create a church family. Now, the point that we've made here is that for a church to be successful, we need to leverage on our leadership, and our leadership must always be willing to learn and unlearn things that they're basically used to do in the past. And this will mean being able to give relevant sermons and messages to the people that they're preaching to, by always looking through the demographics of the people that they're preaching to. Also, secondly, making sure that they have some sort of allowing the youth to be very authentic in terms of what they see and their concerns, so they can really express themselves and the concerns that they have. And lastly, creating a community. By creating a community, where one's burden belongs to the other. It creates a safe space for us to basically address issues that are known and unknown. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to the next episode.
That's it. Isaac.
Yeah. Okay. So there are so many and it's I sorry no ejuma yet to keep the youth church saying I didn't Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6 and say the parent in 3 ways: the parent, the church, and the individual. Yeah. Parents in the Bible they can actually in Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6 no, or see we should train up the child the way he should go. Bible said, oh yes, na unia free home. And to dear yeah wafemu dear. The way now you feed the warm physically, we need to feed them with the word of God also.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's a uni, that's a ufi one, na one asem. Church, so Bible actually I First Peter chapter 5 or try and say Yankupon say or the enjoy ashe yensa na it was say you taking care of them, taking care of ubino and yet 1 day job and yet 3 hours. It entails a lot of things that we need to do. And yeah, so as a church, Bibia it just say Bible diama say be making sure say members, at the end of the day, no one be ama omo ekra we have to do it, both preachers and leaders. Na yes sana a bit me so abua ama sorry no to me so akoso last one no the individual members a one issue ewo Philippians chapter 2 verse 12 and say yemfa suonia hopopo yankasa yankwanje ho adwuma baby a me manyi adui me expect say me parent ever be tell me say ever be friend me say na say me call church and I say u parent etrenu wie the church and so it take care of you we now do year of accountability say who say sorry Church of Christ a narrow way and near maybe a ube who other churches young can who asem it's a dreadlock so said and girlfriend boyfriend smoking drinking outing whatever other churches and can over Church of Christ and yeah juma and it's all person over narrow way no sa kwan no so unya ho totroto and no na se sia ewiase na ma aya so easy amayen say ase se sia to sin is ya packaging nicely enti aya to be a member of Church of Christ enti say yeti ase aso no betumi aye na afem u parent be ye na afem die but won so unya say wuti ase say one kasa wudi suoni ahopopo ebeye unkwanje ho adwuma because at the end of the day etoje wa enti yan youth enti ase sa uba sorry bibi esi parent ana osofo ana sorry penny bia fro akasa achewa de we no wo de fa ha anka eye enya time na water
Isaac your time no
one kasa no wo kasa chiro obi ana se bi wutwi obi animu a yehuni se bi wo mpe oni pana ye mpe ade no enti ya ekisto for oni de say yehu sa ade no Church of Christ emutra egini so we should all
right.
I mean
thank you guys for joining us this evening. I want to encourage the youth, as I say, keep up the faith. Don't just give up just because maybe you're in a certain church and you're not seeing what you expect to see. Ask questions. Go to the leadership. Approach the older youth. One they're like entrenched in the church and talk to them and have a conversation. I feel like don't just give up. All right, because based on what I've seen, it was like most of the youth are getting tired of it, and I just want to encourage you guys not to give up. And we will see you on the next episode. It will be Bias and Yamisha.
All right, well, thank you.